Greetings, everybody from Palm Desert, California. I am the Rabbinic Cynic. Call me Rabbi Andrew, Rabbi Dude. Well, today is Erev Shabbat, the day before the Sabbath. And this is an interesting Jewish Sabbath because one of the worst fasts. Worst is a good word to use because it commemorates every bad thing that ever happened to the Jewish people. And it occurs after Shabbat, after the Sabbath, which is sundown on Saturday night. And it's the only time of the year where Jews fast for 25 hours. And initially it symbolized the destruction of both temples, which occurred on the 9th of Av, which is the Hebrew date. We use a lunar calendar. If you find that interesting, you can go through the whole mathematical process, but math isn't my strong suit. And in rabbinical school, every time they started talking about the math in the Talmud, I just started thinking about the Beatles. But what's interesting is an apocalypse. What is the idea of apocalypse, that catastrophic event that changes a society? And so that's what the 9th of Av represented for the Jewish people. And the Nuremberg laws, for example, were established on that Hebrew date. So we see that as a representation of the evil that could happen to us. And it's interesting this year, it falls on the beginning of the book of Deuteronomy. Now, the book of Deuteronomy, or Dvarim, as we call it in Hebrew, which doesn't mean Deuteronomy, it just means words. What are these words? These words are the last speech given by Moses to the Israelites. And it was really the handing off the mantle of leadership. And within that speech, at the end, which a very long speech, I guess Moses didn't get the memo that rabbis shouldn't talk for too long. In that speech, he goes through all the blessings and the curses, and we can discuss that later. But the idea is that if we don't do certain things, the bad things are going to happen. So what does that mean? God's going to punish us? I don't know if it means that. I think it means that there are consequences to our actions. And I think we're seeing that played out in the world today. We're seeing the consequences of our actions being played out with the way we treat each other, these hot summers that they're having in England. I keep going on about that. I just can't get over the fires in England. And then the weird summers we get in the Coachella Valley, like it's been cloudy all day. I mean, really? I went out walking at 5 o'clock this morning and found all these it was just like, am I in London? It's like, am I in the upside down world? What is it all about? And so when we try to understand what does this apocalypse mean, right? Monkeypox, COVID, all these different events that we're starting to see happen. Just FYI, my wife's starting to feel a little bit better. I know everyone talks about, well, during COVID, I did this and this and this and this. Well, COVID is still going on, by the way. We've been quarantined we have to sleep in separate bedrooms for 2 weeks, I've been informed, because I'm immune compromised, and that's another story. But thankfully, Beth's symptoms are starting to subside. She enjoyed my chicken. I'm oversharing this. And I'm sure I'm missing her in my bed more than she is. No, just kidding. But kidding aside, what's next? Monkeypox. What if monkeypox and COVID had a baby? Now, we don't even want to go there. These are both serious diseases, but you've got to wonder. Big surprise, as on a tangential side, the government was slow to react to monkeypox. So, we keep blaming the other side for poor reactions, for poor responses. And then, the Democrats act as they act just as bad in terms of their response, just as incompetent as the Republicans during their term. So it's a systemic issue, in leadership, which brings me back to Devarim, to Moses passing on that mantle of leadership to the younger people, the youth that don't remember what it was like to be slaves. And I'm just saying, maybe it's time for new leadership, not just in the United States, but around the world. I mean, this is not just an American problem. This is a problem. This is a worldwide issue. You got the same Altakakas making the same choices, making the same decisions, and making the same mistakes. And we are fulfilling that. The idea of, if you keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result, that is the definition of insanity. Which brings me to another. I read an interesting article today talking about the Great Resignation. The idea that the grass is greener on the other side, right? So we know that during COVID, everybody just said fuck you to a lot of people said fuck you to their jobs and said, I'm going to try something different, or I'm going to try working here because it seems like it's so much better over there. And now this article explained how people are finding that things aren't so much better on the other side. The grass isn't greener. To quote, I believe this comes from AA. No matter where you go, there you are. And I'm speaking to myself as much as to you all, that we look at this ideal world that we want to live in, this consumerism that is enveloping us. I mean, I love buying gear. I love buying guitar gear and video equipment and basically guitar gear, music gear, video equipment, keyboards, microphones. I got an oud behind me. See the oud? It's over here. There's an oud. It's an Egyptian oud. I play it very poorly. You'll get some guitar playing from me soon, but I'm still working on the audio for that. Well, we'll get there. I digress, though. We have to understand that we got to be happy with what we've got. And that's kind of, I got a diagnosis this year. I'm going to lay it on the line. I got those words you don't want to hear after going for a routine medical checkup. You got cancer. And I'm just like, oh my God, I'm already a neurotic Jew. And I played through everything in my head. And then it came out, oh, it's not such a, you don't have great genes to fight this cancer either. And so again, my neurotic sense went even more crazy. But what it did was, it made me start realizing that you can't take life for granted. I spent the last 51 years thinking, I'll do it tomorrow, or I'm going to write the new song tomorrow, do my next album tomorrow. Well, maybe there isn't a tomorrow. Well, thankfully, I'm on this medication. I'm doing okay right now. So, but the idea is we all need to find a sense of purpose. And thinking that if you just go to that next job that's on the other side, or if you buy the latest Canon camera, I got 2 Canon cameras, but I switched from Sony, and I had a Blackmagic, and I had all these other cameras. And how many guitars do you need? And how many keyboards? Well, guitars, you can never get enough guitars. That's true. But you got to realize that life is about finding your purpose, finding your meaning. And that's what this diagnosis meant to me, was I need to find my purpose and my meaning. There's this Japanese idea called Ikigai. If you look it up, Ikigai doesn't mean a sick guy. Ikigai means you got to find all the different things that you're good at. What is your profession? What is your vocation? And if you look it up, Ikigai, spelled Ikigai. If I spell it wrong, someone please comment. But the Ikigai is you find something that you're good at and you improve on what you're good at. But there's also something that pays you enough money to give you that self-satisfaction, but is also your vocation, which is not easy to do. But the idea is that this, this looking at the world, that the grass is always greener on the other side, doesn't mean that if you just switch like that, it's going to make your life better. No, you got to work at it. No one's going to hand it to you on a platter. I mean, the idea, I started getting more in touch with my spirituality. Believe it or not, I'm a rabbi. I was ordained Orthodox. I don't pray every day. And before I got this diagnosis, I didn't pray at all. As they say, there are no atheists in the trenches in a war situation. And so I've always had this relationship. I've had a sketchy relationship with God, had my doubts of faith. But what I realized, and a great rabbi, Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs of blessed memory, said something that has always had a profound sense of meaning for me when I think about what the meaning of prayer is. How do you pray? I'm not praying to God to say, heal my cancer. I'm not praying to God to say, get me 50 million subscribers, which reminds me, you got to hit subscribe and like on my YouTube channel. Go to my YouTube channel, The Rabbinic Cynic, and hit like and subscribe. Maybe I will, but I'm not praying to God from that. What you pray for is, you don't pray to say, please give me this. I'm going to do this, and if you give me this. The relationship is not transactional. The relationship, when you pray, really is about, and this is what Rabbi Sachs said, is you're praying to understand what it is that you need. What do I need in life? And it helps you kind of come to that realization that when you think about what you're praying for, it helps guide you. Doesn't necessarily mean your prayers are going to be answered. No one's going to answer your prayers. You're the only one that's going to really answer your prayers. Right? Are we that narcissistic that we think that God is actually singling us out? Maybe. I don't think so. I think we can have this broader philosophical discussion of what the meaning of God or the universe, and the word God is not even the word that Jews we use. We have multiple names of God. There's 72 names of God. I mean, that's which means that there's different attributes of what we don't understand, what we don't understand about the universe. And science isn't in conflict necessarily with religion, unless human beings say, well, it just can't be. If science says such a thing, it just can't be. Science doesn't know, neither does religion. No one has the absolute answers. No one's come back from the other side and sent a postcard. We don't know what dark matter is. We have an understanding of what dark matter is. So I'll just leave you with that little thought on this eve of the Sabbath of Deuteronomy of Dvarim, and then Friday for those of you, Saturday night for those of you that will be starting the fast. I wish you all an easy fast, and for all of you looking for grass is greener on the other side, take a gratitude check at what you've got here, and don't necessarily go out on a spending spree or quit your job tomorrow. And I got to say, wish you all, and this is where this comes from. This is the blessing of the priests. And it's also the blessing of the high priest. Later Nimrod got it because he was a Kohen, was a priest. Live long, prosper, Shabbat Shalom, and have a wonderful weekend. Peace out.